that, and I got another list of like just who the contacts are for each state.
We're on, bro. We're on.
Uh,
What's going on? Welcome back to Network and Chill. Great Lunch and Learn edition today. I'm your co-host Red, joined with my co-host Rick. What's going on, brother?
hey, what up, bro?
Yeah, it feels good to be back. Early is a cold January morning, but life is good.
Man, I'm talking about these frigid temperatures. Trying to get the kids out in the morning, like, bro.
I ain't ready for it, man. I'm already looking for the getaway, that vacation. I hate being stuck inside during the wintertime. So, man, I'm looking forward to some warmer weather and to get away soon.
Shoot, what are we about a month and a half out?
Man, but just about, yeah, just about a month and a half out and get away, get out the country for a couple of days. I'm excited.
Yeah, bro, it's gonna be a lit time.
Well, I think we looking forward to 2024. I think we're going to have a huge year this year, and there's a ton of opportunity. And I think I'm excited to kick off next week with our first in-person event on January 25th. We had the pleasure of bringing a national author and a former founder, Adrizio de la Cruz, in from Miami, Florida, coming in. He recently wrote a book called The Underdog Founder, really going deep into his story. Idris is from the Dominican Republic, came to the States, started his career off in New York, and really launched a company, Arcus, that that went through Y Combinator in the West Coast, and eventually sold to Mastercard back in 2021. It's a great story of grit and persistence, and really his journey and really helping the next founder, particularly Black and Latin Latino founders, and here. So I'm really excited to have him in person, really go into his story and really dive into the books and really have an opportunity to engage with founders here locally in Kentucky.
And definitely, bro. I think that I mean I'm almost done with the book, and after reading the first several chapters, I was like, man, this is a great story for minority founders to hear because it's nothing unique. It's just hard work and grit, as you said, like in determination on reaching your goal, and it just shows you that like if you're willing to put in that work, you find that vision, and also you're willing to listen to your team and the outside kind of noise a little bit kind of helps guide you and direct you. So I think, man, the story is awesome and something that people could really connect with, and use some of those tools that they see and that grit that he shows, as a part of their journey.
Yeah, I was sort of just marinating on this chapter earlier this morning. Just nailing one thing at a time. I was like,
Yeah.
this is the key chapter right here. I think
Man.
many times it sounds so simple, but this right here is a great chapter that delve into it. And I love each chapter has a takeaway section that you can actually put into
Hmm.
action right away.
Definitely, man. Like I said, great read. If you haven't grabbed the book yet, go ahead and grab one. Or if you've registered for the event, you'll get one there. So either way, grab that book, man, and definitely it's a good read.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's Thursday, January 25th at 5:30. The links in the comments now if you want to tap into that. So hop in. But with that, let's kind of get into our conversation for the day, um, on SSBCI.
Yeah, I mean, $10 billion, bro. I mean, it's crazy. I was looking the other day. I was like, is it really 10 billion? I was like, yeah, it says 10 billion. That was deployed and authorized, under the new ARP plan.
So we'll hop into that piece of that. Really, SSBCI, like you said, it was 10 billion, really originally allocated back in 2010. And the state of small business credit initiative is a federal program, is supporting small businesses and entrepreneurship across the United States. Most recently, this has been a big deal because it was reauthorized and expanded through the American Rescue Plan back in 2021, which really came from some of the COVID relief capital. It really represents commitment to fostering small business growth, enhancing our access to capital, and looking to promote economic development as well.
Yeah, and I think this is one of those things that was really like timely as far as just supporting businesses and getting this out there. I think they said in 2021, 2022, 10.5 billion startups were started, during that time. And this is when, this act was going through Congress and being enacted. So I think that this was very timely and one of the big deals that came through as a part of the American Rescue Plan.
And honestly, I think it was you think about timeliness as well. If you just look at the slowdown of the private markets last year, in particular 2023, of just
Facts.
private capital going into startups and small businesses. Like, I mean, I don't know if they already saw the future, but I think some of this is helping to still keep momentum in entrepreneurship. So I think it was timely from that aspect as well.
Yeah, we're not seeing those huge deployments of capital like we were, over the past 5 years or so. Like, yeah, it's a big, huge drawback. And yeah, man, this program will help, support some of those initiatives and keep that, needle going until we can kind of get back to those levels of investment as before, if we ever do.
100%. Let's move on. Let's keep it moving. Yeah, go into some of the purposes of the program, and kind of overview, Ricky.
Yeah. So, as Chris said initially, like it's $10 billion across the United States. So each state has received a allotted amount of funding to support their programming. And that programming is either going to be in the capital program or a technical assistance program. So there's two types of programs that states are running as a part of SSBCI. And that jurisdiction and what they do is left up to those states. So they can kind of choose what programs they want to be a part of and how they deploy those programs. Each state had to put together a proposal and send that to the Fed to be approved for the various capital or technical assistance programs that they were working to deploy.
Yeah, and I think we'll probably get into a little bit more too. I think based on that, you kind of see each state kind of allocated different amounts based on kind of that part of that piece of that. So, like I said, originally back in 2010, reauthorized in 2021. Each state has different amounts. It's about 56 different jurisdictions. Each state kind of put their plan together, and the Fed kind of allocated dollars based on that.
Yeah, and then I mean initially, and this is kind of another thing to talk about the history. Like you said, back in 2010, they only initiated this program with $1.5 billion. So and that went on for about 5 years, but and the program sat dormant for almost another 5 years before it was reauthorized. So, but from that 1.5 billion, they saw great results and huge strides that were made, under that funding. So that's why they kind of reauthorized through the ARP in 2021.
Absolutely. So if you look at the program, there's a few different objectives around SSBCI, right? And primarily you're looking at supporting small businesses and entrepreneurs, and that's really that private capital piece we're talking about, right? Whether it's from capital or the technical assistance aspect, right? And then you're also looking to, I think this is, we'll talk more about really is promoting economic recovery, but actually looking at growth, right? And how can we start really looking at job creation, building larger companies that support those local ecosystems, and through that, really that's going to be fostering your inclusive economic development as well, right? And so SSBCI is looking like they have a lot of terms and terminology in there. They're being inclusive and really reaching rural areas and ensuring there's equal access to capital for diverse businesses and entrepreneurs across the board. So you've seen many state programs looking at SSBCI being really intentional of really making sure they hit these markets and metrics.
Yeah, and you'll see that listed if you search SEDI, SEDI, and that's the term that they're using to talk about those underrepresented businesses. So it's a CD, was it SEDI, social economically disadvantaged institutions or individuals is what they're using that is what that term means. So if you search SEDI, that's what they're talking about. If you see that in any other documents. So these are some of the projected, economic impacts and outcomes that they're expecting from this dispersing the $10 billion. So for every dollar that the government disperses, they expect to get $9 back on that. So they expect this to generate a $90 billion investment in small businesses across the United States. Overall, $100 billion investment with the government's initial $10 billion. So that's what they expect to start 100,000 small businesses across the United States as a part of that, generating and creating 1 million jobs, which is huge there. When we talk about economic development and job creation, we all think about, the startup founder and, hey, I'm trying to find my exit. But really, like, these startup founders are creating economic opportunities for folks in the city beyond, an exit. That's someone's, job, someone getting that technical experience so that they can launch off and launch their own company. I think that that's what we don't talk about enough, is the economic impact that startups and small businesses have. I mean, the majority of people work for a small business. So these programs are helping, generate and create and keep that going. So that's one of the big things I wanted to, highlight is it's bigger than, getting an exit or your startup, making millions of dollars. It's about job creation here.
And I think it's really cool how you're framing that up, because when we think about, every dollar they want nine back, right? But many times we're thinking about that in a return on investment, right? So they're not saying they're measuring on not the $9, right? Say, hey, if we put 100K in, we want 900K or a million back. They're really measuring that through, not through the dollars. They're measuring it through the impact, right? The jobs created, and they're measuring those dollars in a different kind of way. So I think it's kind of key to really understand, because if we get into like the different kind of programmings, many times the venture capital programs for direct investment, they're not maybe requiring dollars back, but they're maybe some of those dollars are coming back, but they're really not measuring this economic piece back on those type of dollars, right? So you know
Right.
each state is different, right? So you got to look into those details, but it's very key to understand how they're measuring that economic development piece and the give back.
So let's dive into a little bit about the two programs. So we talked about earlier that there's the capital program and the technical assistance program. So the capital program is exactly, what you're looking for. It's funding for your small business. I think that's the first and number one need when I talk to startups or small businesses. What do you need? I need more capital. So that's what the first part of the program is going to. And that is not just venture capital, but it's also for like loans and to fund like credit and banks to give them a more secure position in taking those riskier loans from small businesses and startups. And then on the technical assistance side, I mean, if you are trying to prepare or get your business ready to take on loans, they're providing legal services, accounting, and financial, services to help you get your business ready and prepared to take on those loans and apply for those. Or I mean, the prepare for VC or prepare for like banks with loan applications and whatnot. Like I know that stuff, even from like real estate, is really difficult to go through. And then even as an entrepreneur, it's even more difficult to, get those loans and things of that nature. So I think that technical assistance piece is one that probably will be overlooked, but I think it's going to be critical to moving small businesses forward.
Yeah, fully agree. I think, as we can continue on, I think both those pieces are critical to the conversation. And I think even the technical assistance piece, if you're a small business that kind of meets the guidelines, you are also eligible to kind of go after those TA dollars to really provide those for other companies as well. Now, there's a few different types of programs, right? You're looking into your capital access programs, collateral support programs. There's loan guarantee programs, loan participation programs. Something I'm excited about is the equity and venture capital programs as well. There's cash collateral, and private support. And also, there's a lot of capital investments in startups and small businesses directly as well. And we can talk about these programs, Rick, but one thing that I want to like really, when I'm going through this, we can talk about how to find and uncover this information. But many times with the different state jurisdictions, I think this is an overview, but many times there's some complexities in each of these programs, right? And really uncovering which one you should go after, how to find the information, and this is what we're going to showcase some things in the website later on today. But I do wish it was a lot simpler. I think there's a lot of complexity in a lot of the programs from state to state, and even from the Fed level that many states don't even understand. And so I think hopefully as we go on, we'll find some more defined terms that across every state people understand. Even from we mentioned SETI earlier. There's many different programs to go after around how you're defined as a SETI founder and having the proper amount of ownership. I think there's some things that I think still need to be flushed out as we go with this.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's still, I mean, startup as a whole is still kind of new in terms of, going through the traditional terms of financing and things of that nature. So I think that, when our legislators are writing these bills and whatnot, like they probably didn't have startup, so much in mind, and more so traditional, small business. So some of the things that they put into the bill and the requirements don't make it easy for startups to navigate, these funding mechanisms. So I think that, that'll change over time. And as states go back and forth with the regulators, they'll figure it out, but it'll probably take some time to hone in on, how this exactly works for startups and small businesses at the same time.
Yeah, and I think too, the also talk about that, or I guess we can talk about it here in the jurisdictions section, is that each state has their own administrator for the program. And so
Yeah.
I think, through like KY Innovation, Keywords Capital is the administrator for Kentucky. Elevate Ventures is the administrator for Indiana. Launch Tennessee is the administrator for Tennessee. So I think those are key to know and understand. And so, kind of like talking about the jurisdictions, each state and territory, District of Columbia has their own jurisdiction for the program. And so that means they have similar goals, right? They all have economic development goals. They have specific needs and for businesses in those markets. But that means the program's going to look a little bit different of how you go after capital, what they're targeting, and how they're implementing the program. So those are things to understand and know. Many of these programs have launched their programs pretty openly and widespread. Others, you have to go to the website and kind of uncover some of those information and understand the programs that they're building and how you can take advantage of them.
Yeah, and like we said, each one of these programs looks different from state to state. So some states, have a more of a lending focus. Some states have more of a VC focus. So you really have to kind of drill down, and as we will hop into and look and see exactly what programs your state is implementing and who is the admin for your state. So let me hop right over to the website.
As you're doing that, you think about for each of these programs, how your business can align with some of these SSBCI goals, right? And whether it's equity investments or loan investments, and how can you be a part of the program? I think it's key to think about. Each of these programs have some kind of reporting requirements, and so making sure you fit the mold for the reporting requirements will be critical for you to really get the attention of the administrators in that state to really get those dollars into your company.
Right. And it's all about networking, right? Like you want to connect with those administrators in your state. Make sure you know who they are first, but make sure they know you. I mean, before you submit the application, you want to reach out to them and discuss, their goals, their objectives, and see how you can best fit and meet those goals and objectives as you are, looking to, receive this capital. So, like I said, this is all available on the USTreasury.gov website. So we're going to go down and check out some of the capital program summaries. So this will tell us what programs these states applied for, how much they received for those programs. And we're going to start out with Kentucky. So as we look, we can see Kentucky's overall portfolio. So this is the overview of Kentucky's portfolio. So for Kentucky's Collateral Support Program. The administrator is KEDFA, the Kentucky Economic Development Administrator. So they have $17.6 million as a part of this program. And like I said, that goes towards collateral support. The Loan Participation Program is another $17.6 million. The Kentucky Strategic Ventures Fund. So this is for like equity and VC, so administered by Key Horse Capital, $16.4 million. And then for Kentucky Matching Venture Funds, $65.5 million. So, I mean, and you can kind of see these different names as for these programs. And as we talked about before, the collateral and the loan program are to support those loans that are a little bit more risky for small businesses. So they kind of insure the loans that they will kind of take on. The other side of the loan program, the venture side of the program, some of those are direct investments and others of those are matching. So over 50% of the total investment up to like 1 million has to come from other investors other than the funds supplied by ARP. So there's different stipulations based on the different programs. And as you can see, Kentucky has that information kind of laid out here exactly. So for each one of those programs. So the Kentucky KYCPS provides a pledged asset cash collateral amount to enroll lenders of up to 20% of the loan value. So they're backing up to 20% of the loan value of companies owned by members of underserved communities. So they're helping support getting those loans for minority and low and underserved folks, as we talked about, SEDI individuals.
Yep. And Rick, you're talking about this like the networking piece, right? And so as we go through this, I don't want to glance over like the piece of KSTC. So, like the managing partner of Key Horse Capital is Kelby Price. There's many others on the team as well, but those are like, if you're looking to take advantage of that piece, like networking, getting the right playbook and know the right people, that's a name you want to know and start connecting with. Here's a website right there. We can really go into there. I think, as we talk about this, Key Horse has already been, like, through their direct investment piece, quite active throughout the state of Kentucky already. And I think now they have some additional capital for that direct investment piece as well. Follow on investment. There's many founders that we've had on the show in the past, on the website for companies that they've invested in the past. I think it's also an opportunity where, it's more early stage capital going into companies. And I think we're also going to see, companies who have been established and maybe more on the growth stage getting additional dollars as well from the state of Kentucky to build larger companies as well. And they also are promoting and fostering a lot of co-investment throughout the state, and hopefully to bridge the gap on the equity side for those equity investments, and really helping being a critical piece like for business development at the earliest stages as well.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, they invested in us through the KY 270 competition as a part of Brainstem. So definitely connect with Key Horse Capital, learn who they are, get to know Kelby and the gang there. Use them as a resource when you're trying to apply for this capital. I mean, like I said, you got to get to know them. So you looked over Kentucky. Let's check out Indiana. So Kentucky's program, Indiana's program looks a little different than Kentucky's. They just have two programs. So the Fund Investment Program, which is a loan participation program, $28.7 million. And then they have the Indiana Angel Network Fund, led by Elevate Ventures, which is $70.4 million. And kind of, like I said, you can see that the programs are a little bit different. The Indiana program purchases up to 50% of the loan issued by lenders. So Kentucky's was only 20%. So that's a huge difference there in the support for, their loan program. The angel network fund. They're supporting businesses seeking between 500 and 5 million in equity capital and financing. So, like I said, you got to go through each one of these states and look at their program specifically to see what they're offering and how they've set up their program.
So,
So,
Rick, as you talk about Indiana, let's hop back into Keyhorse Capital website for a minute. I think we have a lot of Kentucky founders on board, and there were I saw a question inquiring about the matching piece of Keyhorse Capital. I don't know if there's details on here, but I think yeah, I think if we could find some details on the matching venture side of things, it could be really helpful for founders around here.
see the Kentucky Matching Ventures Fund. I'm not sure if that's the same program,
Okay. In the
but it
past,
seems to
at least
be. I mean, the fifty
I'll
percent.
I'll speak to what I know in the past. So with Keyhorse Capital, when they're, I think many times on their investments, they can't be more than 50% of the entire fundraise. They can't be the only check-in, is what my understanding. So, for example, I think they're matching if you raise 150, if you're raising 300K, the most they can put into your company is 150K. So like that's the matching piece. So you have to raise 150K outside of this their match. It's from my understanding with founders in the past. So you can,
Yes.
I don't
So
know. I think it goes up to. Go ahead.
yeah, that so the Kentucky Matching Ventures Fund is what they applied for SSBCI with. So it is the same as the program that's listed there. So the maximum investment is the lesser of 2.5 million or 50% of the investment offering. It will not close without investment commitments from private investors of at least 50% of the investment round, with the focus on underserved businesses and our small businesses with fewer than 10 employees.
Perfect. All right. Good. I wanted to make sure we address that. I think that's a key piece here. So, like you said, this is to help you be a catalyst to your fundraising journey, but you still got to go find those other private investors that kind of go alongside you. But I think it's in having that larger check really gets you across the finish line a lot quicker.
Yeah, I mean, and like I said, the Kentucky Matching Ventures Fund seems like that's for businesses pre Series A, and the Kentucky Strategic Ventures Fund seems for businesses that are post Series A, are ready for a Series A. So, like I said, just read those documents about each one of those programs to see which one your business best fits. Like I
Absolutely.
said, we took a look at Indiana. Want to check out Tennessee. Just for comparison, these are all of the organizations that are deploying. We probably got to hop over to this other list to see Tennessee's and Indiana's, Tennessee and Ohio. So, so this is a list of all of the capital programs and contacts for those programs. As you can kind of see, I'm going to jump right over to, let's go with Tennessee. Tennessee. So Tennessee has 1, 2, 3, 4 programs, kind of similar to Kentucky. You can kind of see they got the Invest Tennessee Technology Fund, and the contact person for all of these are the same. Lamont Price is the contact person for the Tennessee programs, but they have a lending program, another seed fund program, and the Tennessee Multi Fund program. So they have 3 programs that are geared towards venture capital and equity, and one that's geared towards like lending. So that I think that's kind of interesting to see, like I said, the breakdown and what each one of these individual states decided to focus on as far as their SSBCI funding.
Yeah, huge opportunity. As you going through this, Rick, it just makes me think about how do you get the message out more? Because I feel like looking at this website and have to dive through this, like accessibility, the user experience is not great, and so many times you have these bigger government programs. Many times there's, I don't know, I wouldn't call it maybe adverse selection, but there is a limited selection piece of those who kind of know about that, right? the insights. And so, how do you change the landscape and provide ease of use to, to give the most improved reach and impact by really touching founders and businesses that may not know about this as readily? I think there is a piece, like you said, there is a piece of like, yeah, you have to take some accountability and network. But this, to me, should have a bigger reach throughout the state of Kentucky. And so we got to figure out a way to improve the accessibility and ideally have a better user experience on this as well down the line.
I mean, definitely. I mean, $117 million was just given to the state to support the businesses. I mean, I know about it. You know about it because we're constantly looking at this stuff. But there was, I mean, there I didn't see a big press release or an event or anything around getting the word out about this funding and the different avenues of receiving this funding. Because I think that a lot of small businesses and founders would be inquiring about how they get this funding and how, I mean, even from the loan standpoint, I think that a lot of people would,
Yeah.
be looking into it. So yeah, I think we just got to do a better job of, getting the word out and, letting people know, hey, go and get this $70 million in venture capital that's going to be deployed.
I will give a shout out to Launch Tennessee on this behalf. I know last year around the SSBCI, they have not only a direct lending piece, but they also have a emerging manager piece. So if you're an emerging fund manager, if you haven't had a first close yet, they're looking to do direct investments into other funds as well to keep that capital going and really help diverse fund managers scale up the process. But they did a roadshow last year. They went through like each of their hubs throughout the state of Tennessee and had like a launch of the programmings in each of those cities. So I know they hit Chattanooga, Knoxville, Nashville, and other cities throughout the state of Tennessee, which to me it was like I'm sure that really those kind of small activations really got the word out in a bigger, impactful way. So I definitely love the work they're doing down there in Lunch. We've been big supporters and fans of Lunch Tennessee. We've been down there for their 3-6 exits the last couple of years, and it's doing incredible work on that side of things.
Yeah, man. I mean, and I think that from a state perspective, from even a federal perspective, they have programs that they're rolling out, such as the MBDA program, that is supporting, getting the word out, doing things like this to help businesses build up
I think you
their
have some audio
capacity to.
issues, Rick.
Uh,
You kind of cut it out a little bit.
can you hear me now?
Now, same thing. I'm not sure what just took place. Um, but I think you're just speaking to some of the activations down there we went to. Um, Go ahead and speak now. See if it's better.
Yeah, I was saying, like, the government is supporting, some of these initiatives to help get the word out, such as like the MBDA grant and initiative, which, man, we're going to apply again this year for. But I think that the goal and the states need to take more of a focus on, getting the word out and supporting these businesses and telling them that this funding is available. Because I think that if you don't, then the same old people continue to get the funding, and it doesn't get circulated through the ecosystem as it should be. So I think that that's the biggest key. And we got to figure out how we do that and put that into the grants when we apply as a part of it. Like, no, we need to get the word out. Marketing needs to be a part of that. So, yeah, but I think that that's just one thing that they overlook. You muted. Can't hear your audio.
Sorry, there's something wrong. Please try again.
Apologies on the background. I think we just had a cutout right there. But I was just saying that I think marketing has to be a big part of the piece, and I think we can be a part of that and help get the word out. I think we can definitely send out some follow-up notes to founders who joined the call today. We have got a new little weekly newsletter that we'll send some tips and guides out every week as well, and follow-ups from these engagements. I think it was a huge impact. I think let's try to do a part two, Ricky. Like, let's see if we can get. I would love to get someone from Keyhorse Capital on to join us and really talk through more details of their programming, how Kentucky founders can really get engaged, and really some insights that they've seen throughout the program, even working with the Fed on a federal level.
Definitely. I think that'll be a great idea to even, from Indiana and Tennessee, get Launch Tennessee on here and talk about some of the things that they've done to even get the word out. So I think that'd be cool.
Great opportunity. I think it's a great lunch and learn today. So thank you all for joining. Until next time, peace.
Peace.